This video is a sample from the Secret Guitar Teacher Interactive course, The 5 Main Elements of Music. The 5 main elements of music. Element number 2, scales. Section 2.2, using the minor blues scales. Part 4, lick formation. Now we've covered the basics of fretting hand technique, it's time to talk about lick formation. Now, what exactly do we mean by lick? Well, most mainstream dictionaries offer us a definition like a short musical phrase. But for the purposes of this course, I'd like to expand that definition and make it a little bit more specific to lead guitar playing. Let's call it a short musical phrase combining notes using a variety of techniques. So for me, this is a short musical phrase, whereas this is definitely a lick. And I think this revised definition is justified if we listen to the difference between a solo that concentrates purely on phrases that don't use any fretting hand techniques and a solo that concentrates on putting together licks that include fretting hand techniques. The more you play lead guitar, especially improvised lead guitar, the more licks you will develop. But starting this process off is not always easy. How exactly do you start learning to play licks? Well, you either steal them from other guitarists by copying, or you stumble upon them by experimentation. In this lesson, I want to get you started on both these methods of lick acquisition. Here's a lick to get you started. And you have my full permission to steal it from me. After all, I think I probably stole it from Eric Clapton, and no doubt he stole it from Robert Johnson. And we all know how Robert Johnson got his licks. You can have a go learning this from the tab, but you may find it easier to learn it by ear from me, one chunk at a time. I say this because this lick is itself a composite of several shorter licks. And each one of these licks is itself a useful lick to learn and to use as a catalyst to begin the process of creating your own licks. Take this first couple of notes. We can add all sorts of things onto that. start with this. Finger 3 at fret 7 on the G string, and we're going to try and bend this note up a whole tone. So let's put these other two fingers behind the third finger just for physical support, to make sure that we've got more control over the note. So what we're effectively doing is tuning that note up until it sounds the same as the pitch of this next note in the phrase, which is on the B string at fret 5, and we're going to play that first finger. So this is the famous unison bend. Unison means two notes of the same pitch, and usually on the guitar we use it to refer to two notes of the same pitch played on different strings. Some examples. And in this case, so practice this as a very useful lick in its own right, and one that can form the basis of hundreds of others. Now let's add this note on the top string at fret 5 with the first finger. And again, we can mess around with this and find variations and extensions of it. Now for a pull-off from fret 8 on the B string to fret 5 on the B string. Now the more precise you are in placing this little finger, the pinky, behind the fret, the less effort and force is required on the pull-off. If you have larger fingers, you may prefer this version with the third finger. But to be honest, I would take every opportunity to develop the weaker fingers like the pinky. Again, vary this as much as you like. Now a double pull off from fret 8 to 7 to 5, all on the G string, played like this. Again, it's a great lick all on its own. It'll probably take a bit of practice to get it clean. Sort of a rolling action of the hand, of the wrist. And again, it's a great lick to use as a building block to add other things to it. Now, here's an important point. You will smarten up your playing considerably if you learn to pair strings together in your lick playing. So see if you can add the next note here at fret 7 on the D string so that it flows together with the 3 previous notes like this. There's a big difference between playing the first 3 notes quickly and then adding the next note as an afterthought, and stringing them all 4 notes together smoothly. Now Now this technique takes considerable practice, but the trick is to start slow with a sort of nice rhythmic action, and also pay attention to the picking direction. Down, up, down, up. Then as you feel that you're getting it clean and rhythmic, gradually speed it up. Until you get it nice and quick and smooth. Next comes a bit of vibrato technique as we hold this note at fret 5 on the G string and sustain it by shaking our hand like this before ending the lick on the key note A at fret 7 on the D string, like this. Oh no, not like that, more like this. So all together. Once you've learnt to play this lick, spend an hour or two messing around with it and extending out from each part of the lick as many sort of variations and experimentations of your own to begin the process of creating your own licks. Then, once you've done that, move on to playing this lick in other keys. The lick belongs to the first position, and we have learnt it in the key of A. But it can be played in any key as long as you first correctly orientate yourself to the first position for that key. So, to play it in E, for example, I'd probably come up to the 12th fret here. Because it's easier to bend this G string here than down here in the open position. It can be done, but unless you've very light strings, it's a bit harder to bend strings nearer to the nut. I've included a backing track in the key of E that you can download from this section of the course. So you can use that to practice the lick in the key of E, as well as using the backing track in the key of A to practice the lick as taught in the main part of the lesson. I've included backing tracks in G, C and D too. And once you have spent a bit of time working in each of these keys, you can try using this lick as the starting point to play against the 60 bar blues track that we used in the earlier part of the course. Here's a demo of me doing that. Remember to feel free to steal any of my ideas from this demo. Rather that than you heading off down to the crossroads. Key of E. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you'd really like to maximize your potential as a guitar player, click on the link in the description below to the Secret Guitar Teacher site. Here you can sign up for a 30-day trial free of charge and without obligation. We won't even ask you for your credit card number.